To be clear, the question was, what does Bill Clinton represent?
No. The question is... welcome to What's the Question? The question is, who do you think at this couch gives off the most Bill Clinton vibes?
So
and I don't mean this necessarily from the obvious joke angle. I'm just saying as President Clinton, there's only one President Clinton, I guess. The President Clinton.
You had to remind us.
Yeah. Who at this couch gives off the most Clinton vibes?
Gosh, well, I don't think any of us can play a wind instrument.
Yeah,
No,
definitely not.
We can't lean into the saxophone thing. None of us have an accent. We're all from the accent neutral place in America, the Pacific Northwest.
True.
Right.
I did recently spend the night in Hot Springs, Arkansas, the birthplace of Bill Clinton.
There we go. Okay,
So
well, I
you've
guess
got
that's the question.
I took a boat ride on the lake there, and I saw the sign that said Bill Clinton's historic home.
Wow, he has
Yeah.
He has a historic home.
Yeah,
That's pretty awesome.
he does.
Yeah,
goodness.
I'm glad we could do that so early after
See,
he was president.
It all makes sense then that we're talking about him because I feel like you've just brought his spirit into the room, right?
It's
like
true.
there's the willow wisp of Bill Clinton. Is
So
just clinging
what
to
is
your
there to
person.
see other than his historic home in Wet Springs?
Hot Springs.
Hot Springs. Okay.
Hopefully they're wet.
All right. No, there wasn't much else. We didn't go down to the home. We stayed at someone's house. We were traveling across country, moving from Texas, and we stopped to stay with a family friend. And they had a boat on the water, and it was really cool. There was this one house that we drove past. So the guy, it was this classic like old guy move where he's going and he's pointing at all the houses. He's like, "That's a doctor from Chicago, and they make $40 million and whatever." And he's like, this one house during Prohibition was really big with the mob.
Yeah.
And they're like, classic story. And now like the guy flies his plane in, lands, not the guy we were with, but the guy who owns this house, flies the plane in and docks it in like a basement garage, like Batman, underneath his like historic mansion. It's a level of wealth I do not understand.
Yeah.
There you
But
go.
this guy had property on this lake.
Yeah.
And
This guy was also wealthy. Not at this level, but
Yeah. Well, there's always stratification. There's always a bigger fish, the billionaires, etc. Yeah. What you didn't see Bill Clinton's historic house?
No.
You saw a sign saying where it was?
No, we were on our way to like a Texas roadhouse.
Nothing like being in Arkansas.
Yeah. America's historic home.
Nothing like driving from Texas to Arkansas to eat at a Texas roadhouse.
Yeah, so I didn't know that there were Texas roadhouses outside. Like, I didn't know they were in Texas.
Oh, yeah.
I thought it was.
Are there ones in Texas?
Yeah, we lived really close to one. We had to pull past it every time we went to our house. One time,
Dude, the amount of temptation you faced every day.
I know, we never went in. One time the sign went out. So like the text went out and then the road went out. So it just said ass house. And
You're like, that's a very different highway side location.
my wife's like, no, it'd be as house. And I was like, I don't care. This is how I'm reading the sign.
Oh,
That's
goodness.
awesome.
Give me the benefit of the doubt on
You
this
just got to
one.
say it really fast. Ass house. So, actually, a quick question about the Texas Roadhouses, because I went to a Texas Roadhouse recently. My wife and I guess recently, I mean like a year ago, we went to the Texas Roadhouse in Jackson. And every time I go to a place like that, it terrifies me in its own weird way. Like,
Like, what's in this category
yeah,
here?
what do we describe that kind of restaurant? The Olive Garden, the Texas Roadhouse, the Applebee's.
Oh,
It's not technically fast casual.
No, fast
right?
casual is like Chipotle. It's
Yeah,
the kind of thing where you get slop in a bowl and you eat the bowl slop, like kava or
Yeah.
sweet green.
No,
right?
it's sit down casual,
sit down casual,
right? Something like that.
Yeah, family restaurant. I guess
I
is
think,
another
yeah,
way to
I've
describe
heard
it.
family restaurant is a way to.
Because when you're at Olive Garden,
I
your
wanna-
family.
I want to
so.
clarify though that why does this terrify you? Why are
I
you
don't know, 'cause
terrified
you're
by
No,
it?
no,
there.
I have had this exact same feeling, but
Yeah.
I want to hear your
Well,
thoughts.
you're there, and first off, you get the impression that it's the most popular place in town.
Yeah.
Always.
Oh,
Every
yeah.
time I've
Full.
ever been one, like
Yeah.
it's just full. It's slammed, and like good for people. I'm not here to judge people's, but if the place that you're going is famous not for the food but for the rolls, like I feel like there's a problem. Yeah, I've never eaten at a place like that and said this meal was satisfying. I enjoyed this meal. But I feel like young people, especially who didn't eat out a lot, like us, when we were kids. you mythologize these places.
Yeah.
Right. Like, oh yes, the mythical restaurant. That must be so expensive because it's a place you sit down and somebody hands you a check. Right. And even though it's for $25, right, it's still like this is a place, and you don't eat at those places when you're a poor kid.
Yep.
And so, but
you eat at Taco Bell.
you eat at Taco Bell, or you get fast food, or you know, you maybe go to somewhere.
If you are going,
yeah,
out,
if the special thing is Taco Bell.
yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
But then you go there and like everything is just a little too expensive. The music's a little too loud, and the food tastes like nothing. It tastes like nothing. Everything is like crazily unseasoned.
The thing that is the worst about those places, and I don't know if this is all of them. So there's 2 separate mother companies that own
Like all of them.
So think of all of them, split them in half, and it basically works that way. But you order on a computer.
Yeah.
So that is the most like dehumanizing thing. When you walk in, you sit down,
tablet,
and there's a tablet, and it doesn't shut off.
Yeah.
And you can like buy games for your kid and hand it to it. I'm like,
dude,
who wants this like late capitalist experience?
The fact that you have to pay for the games on the freaking Applebee's, tablet is insane to me when you literally have a device that you've probably brought in with you that is just chock full of free games. Right?
Like, they're so much better.
I do not understand the purpose here.
It's kind of terrifying that it's almost like I don't know, I feel like what is developed in the recent years, like in our age, this is how it works with a lot of video games, this is how it works with subscription models, this is how it works with, it's like the grocery checkout principle, right? Where we're giving people small temptations in large quantities, hoping to skim them just for that extra $4 or $5, right?
Well, that one's like their kid,
Yeah.
The kid's like, oh, it plays games. They don't care if it's not as good as the phone game.
Yeah, they don't care. They see it. It's like, oh, it's a Twizzler in the checkout line, right? A kid will focus on something. They'll get obsessed with it. It's like, oh, I can play Bubble Bobble, but it's not Bubble Bobble. Please, for the love of God, spend the $3.
What it's the Chili's chili shooting bubbles into the air.
No, that's the thing. They're not even that themed.
No,
they're
it's
just
true.
like
they're all very generic.
they're like.
You know what I imagine what it is? It's probably a Eastern European developer that they just make these generic app games.
Maybe that's why we're in the Ukraine.
Oh, that could be it. We got to save them.
Those apps.
They're holding up the economy. Those guys.
Yeah.
They're generic apps.
That must be tough too, especially if you have a kid who isn't super screen focused, because, I mean, they're going to just be obsessed with it because it's a screen, right?
There's also like 12,000 televisions in those places. That's another marker of those places.
Yeah, 12,000 televisions, all playing the game. Kenny Chesney over the speakers. And I'm not trying to, this is nothing in my mind to do, because I feel like a lot of people, their complaints about it comes from a place of like classism, where they'd be like, oh, the dumb Americans enjoying this stuff. It's like, no, it's just predatory. It's manipulating people, right, into being overexposed. And it's like, $5 margs, that it just gets out of control. It's just a bad place.
I will say, though, to the Olive Garden's credit, not as many TVs in the Olive Garden. So
That's true. They have tablets now, though.
It's true. It's been a long time since I've been to a Red Lobster. I don't know what kind of their TV situation is, or the Outback. I imagine the Outback's got TVs.
Yes, it does. I've been to a Red Lobster. I guess last time I was at a Red Lobster was like 4 or 5 years ago, and I got food poisoning.
Yeah.
So
there you go.
I was under the impression that it was somehow the better of them all, because it was the one I didn't go to. Again, because it's seafood. You're like, this must be it. This is the place.
Which seafood is the last thing you want to eat at that quality restaurant.
Yeah, a Red Lobster in East Lansing, Michigan. Yeah.
But on the topic of like restaurants and video games, I was thinking, because that's what we're talking
about. Let's talk about Dine and Dash.
Yeah, okay, of course.
So I haven't seen this. My brother works at this restaurant, so he might be able to speak more to it. But Chick-fil-A, with the new video game. Do you know about this?
I haven't heard about this.
So Chick-fil-A has released a game, which I don't know how it works at all.
Yeah.
But basically you play and you can earn rewards that you can cash in for real food.
Oh, okay. So it's like an app, a phone app, right?
Yeah, but you play. My understanding that it's something like Pokemon Go, and I could be completely wrong.
Oh, okay.
Like when you go around, you help the farm, you fight for the cows. I don't know. But
on behalf of the cows, which in their ethnic cleansing efforts against the chickens.
Against the chickens.
That's sort of the overarching narrative of that ad campaign.
No. It's not ethnic cleansing of chickens. It's the they have been discriminated against in the past, and in order to avoid the pogroms, they are out to try to shift the blame onto others.
That sounds like you've been cowpilled.
Yeah, exactly. That's a cycle of violence.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm not
that's just
saying
worse
it's a
for
good
everybody.
thing. Yeah,
If we're gonna get genocide, they gotta genocide them instead. Come on now. Come on now.
Insane.
Eat more chicken spelled improperly. So you're helping the cows.
Like, what kind of society is that? Do you want to uphold the society that can't spell? Like,
Exactly. No,
it's just this stronger culture that's actually weaker. Sparta.
Yeah. So you help the cows, you get free chicken,
Yes.
basically.
Yeah. And I could be wrong, but that's my understanding from reading.
Are
the
like your
bag.
actions like write a dehumanizing pamphlet about chickens, make some conspiracy theory about chickens in leadership, that sort of thing.
Exactly.
You guys
The chicken problem.
Yeah.
There was this movie that came out, I think when we were in high school, maybe we just graduated, where people were like dared to do stuff for money.
Yes. Okay. I think I remember this.
But like, imagine it's that where you're dared to do things, the stakes get higher, but all you get is just more chicken.
Yeah. Well, considering what people are willing to do for online clout,
Yeah.
imagine the clout of doing the craziest thing possible for a chicken sandwich. You know what I mean?
There you go.
That is a lot of clout and
Yeah.
not much chicken.
Yeah, it's like, I'm sure that it would start with like running naked through the Mall of America for a chicken sandwich. That would be like baseline.
yeah, that
Yeah.
would be based. Yes.
Yeah, no. And then it would it'd elevate from there. Commit some crimes other than public indecency.
Become president.
Yes, become president. It's like,
Be Bill Clinton.
my fellow Americans, I did this for a chicken sandwich.
Yes.
My VP will be taking over. Thank you so much.
Yes.
And then he's just eating the Chick-fil-A sandwich on his way home.
Like with a Popeyes hat on.
Yeah. Were you what was your opinion on when we went through the chicken sandwich wars? What was your partisan stance on that?
So like when Popeyes released the chicken sandwich.
Yeah,
and
and
there
it was
all that-
war on Chick-fil-A and all
Mhm.
that.
So my only experience with Popeyes is when I was like 7. I have family in Virginia in
Yeah,
the Tidewater
The kind of
area.
place where you could get
We-
Popeyes.
And it was Thanksgiving. And we got buckets of Popeyes chicken for
Mm.
Thanksgiving. So this is something about my family.
Yeah.
And it says another thing about Popeyes. That
Yeah.
it's that kind of holiday focus. They weren't giving those people any time off for Thanksgiving.
No,
they
it's
were
true.
making our dinner. So and I've been to Chick-fil-A, too many times.
Yeah.
So I guess my loyalty was probably towards Chick-fil-A, but
Yeah. So you didn't try the Popeye chicken sandwich when it
no.
released.
Mm.
Yeah.
they
Wow.
invented the chicken sandwich. No one had ever put bread between like on either side of chicken.
They have never once. Yeah. The funny thing about Popeyes, and I have a friend who once went on this great monologue about this, but the funny thing about Popeyes is that there's an X factor. So like when you go to Chick-fil-A, it's yes, ma'am, thank you, ma'am. You get your chicken
My pleasure.
sandwich in
Mhm.
5 minutes,
Yeah.
if that, right? And you're out. It's the same thing every time.
Yeah.
Going to a Popeyes is like opening the box that Schrodinger's cat's in,
Mhm.
right? It's a question of the in between, the dark matter, the what ifs,
yes.
right?
this
You'll
a-
go up and you'll be like, "Hi, can I, have a 3-piece chicken, chicken meal?" And they'll be like, "No." He's like, "Why?" And they're like, "Oh, just because." Or you'll say, "Can I have a 3-piece chicken meal?" They say, "Well, we only have enough to give you a 2-piece." And you say, "Okay, I'll have a 2-piece chicken meal." And then you'll open it up and it'll have 5 pieces of chicken in it. It's insane. You won't order fries. They'll put fries in that bag, if they're feeling like it. It's pretty wild.
Is this a Nick Rowan take?
No, I think it was Chris McCaffrey once gave
Yeah.
probably one of the best exhortations I've ever seen a human being give about this exact question. But yeah, it's pretty silly going to a Popeyes. But the chicken sandwich, honestly, it was amazing. I really enjoyed it.
I'm wondering, have we
Hmm.
talked about the KFC in Japan thing on this podcast? I feel like we have.
I don't think so, but
Yeah,
go ahead.
because you were talking about eating
I know where that
Popeyes
is.
for Thanksgiving. Japan?
KFC.
Oh, okay. I don't
He's
know.
not talking about Old Nippon. He's
Yeah,
talking
I don't
about
know where Japan is
Colonel.
either. Yeah. So
the Atlantic Ocean.
it's really strange. KFC basically gaslit the entirety of Japan into believing that in America we have KFC every Christmas, right? So they put out an ad campaign. I don't remember if it was like the 70s or 80s. I don't remember exactly when it was. That they convinced the Japanese population that the Christmas activity is to buy a bucket of KFC chicken. So now in Japan, you have to order weeks in advance and reserve.
Oh, you have to pre-order.
Buckets of chicken because they sell so many KFC buckets in Japan.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like your Christmas goose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's
the
awesome.
goose.
You're just like
The chicken bucket. God bless us, everyone.
It's like a hoodwinked a whole country.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Wow. So it's on the same playing field, but like Lululemon, do you know how it got its name?
No, I haven't heard this.
So it was an American businessman who had made this clothing company that wasn't really anything special, and he's like, "Well, I want to sell it in Asia."
Mhm.
He's like, and Asians sound really dumb when they say the sound Lulu, so I'm gonna name something that they sound silly saying. So one, it was marketing, so they'll remember it.
Yeah,
They're like,
yeah.
"Oh, that thing I can't say."
Yeah.
And also two, he thought it sounded funny when a certain ethnicity said something. So just again, just like
That's awesome.
totally. Yeah.
Did it work?
It worked. Like, look at.
I mean, it's big in America.
wearing 'em now.
Yeah.
So what?
Yeah, he's in full booty suit right now. He's
Yeah.
got a full yoga suit on.
Listen. All I'm gonna say is I ain't hearing anybody complain. That's all I'm saying.
I will lodge a complaint.
Yeah.
Right now, I will certainly lodge a complaint. No, that's
Yeah.
that's a funny story.
Guys, we got freaking Gabe Listro on the podcast.
That's
everybody.
true.
Hello.
Hey, Gabe Listro.
Former podcaster Gabe Listro.
Oh, yes.
True. I used to do a podcast.
Yeah. We. This is a small reunion of a sort.
Yeah.
We've already had Jane on the pod twice now. And now we've got Gabe. The second quarter of
Third quarter.
Definitely. Yeah.
the second to third quarter of our bizarre adventure,
Yes.
the podcast, our first podcast we put together after graduating.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the experiment that was the Our Bizarre Adventure podcast? How do you remember it?
I remember it being, so we had just moved to a new state.
Yeah.
I remember being very good to have something that was like kind of connected to my old life. So personally, I thought it was really good.
Yeah.
The show, good show. I didn't have the patience to watch it on my own.
Yeah.
Without someone else telling me to watch it. But now, like, I think just 2 days ago, I saw someone with like oh my God shirt on.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I get the reference.
That's funny. Yeah.
you go.
No, I honestly really like doing that show just for the virtue of us all hanging out. I think
Yeah.
that Dylan and I at that point hadn't figured out how to properly work together and spread responsibility, so it caused some tension that ended up destroying the show. But I really enjoyed doing it.
I
It was
mean,
good to hang out with my friends for an
Yeah.
hour a week. It wasn't fun editing my friends for 3 hours.
Yeah, the way that we recorded that was just complete garbo, terrible idea.
Yeah.
And we always had technical difficulties on top of it. It's like I feel like we were constantly losing audio, or somebody was constantly forgetting to record and all that stuff. So
It's true.
it's a lot easier when it's just everybody's in the same room, or you've only got one remote individual to put that together.
Yeah, it's a real bummer that you have to put up these walls every time you record.
I know. Building this small shack in the center of a
Yeah.
of a downtown parking lot is
Yeah, you
a
know,
lot.
that we actually are right now in the parking lot of the old mill in downtown Hillsdale. That's
Yeah.
where we are in that big, pile of gravel. Somehow the cops have not found us out yet.
Yeah, well, really what it comes down to is camouflage. We've converted the sides to paint them like the landscape. It's a perfect 1-to-1. It's like that scene in the Muppets, right, where the Muppet movie where they drive up to the
Yes,
billboard.
the billboard.
Yeah, with their car. That's all painted all colorful. Is that a strange
No, no.
reference?
Quick question for you, Dylan.
Yeah.
What's the best part of the Muppets? The singing, the costume, or the story arc?
the Muppet movie?
Yeah,
The Muppet movie? None of those. It is the guest stars. It's the best part of the Muppet movie.
It's the worst part of that Muppet
I love
movie.
the guest stars, dude.
Okay, name the ones that you like.
I like Steve Martin's character.
You really think that's a funny scene?
I think it's funny.
Okay.
Wait, you think Steve Martin's funny?
I think Steve Martin's funny.
Steve Martin is funny, yeah.
He is.
I think he does an all right job.
All
No,
Richard
it's
Pryor does is just like stare.
Wait. So there are multiple The Muppet movies, right? So there's the
There's-
original The Muppet movie.
There's the Muppet movie, then there's Muppets Take Manhattan.
Yeah, so there's all those spin-offs, and then
Yeah.
there was a recreation
Yeah, the
of
reboot.
the Muppet movie.
Yeah,
There was a Muppet movie where there was a guy who was a generic dude Muppet
Mhm.
who was like going to hang out with the Muppets because they were his heroes because he was born a Muppet.
Oh yes.
And that came out in like 2013, 14,
Yeah.
somewhere around then.
Early 2010s.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then there was the Muppet ABC TV show sitcom that nobody watched, which is a bummer because that sounds awesome.
There was a sequel to that Muppet movie.
Yes.
That was another crime.
Yeah, Muppets Undercover.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was Muppets in Space, which came out ages ago and killed the Muppet movies for a few years.
So that wasn't well received.
No, it wasn't. But it does have a guest appearance from Hulk Hogan, who shows up at one point.
Yes.
As far as the Muppet movies are concerned, though, and I think I've said this on the show before, the two best Muppet movies, in my opinion, are A Muppet Christmas Carol.
Oh, that is one of my favorite Christmas movies. Of all time.
And that's why I made the goose joke earlier. A goose! A goose! And then he starts going, don't get so excited, Tim. He's excited about the goose. It's going to kill him. And then...
have you ever felt more excited about anything in your life?
Yeah. A Christmas goose. And then Muppet Treasure Island.
Yeah.
I've never seen that one.
Well, it's great. It's also only 90 minutes long.
Nice.
Which is great. Like, you don't really realize just how awesome 90-minute movies are.
Oh, they're so good, especially when you have that limited amount of time before you need to go to bed. Like, I can't commit to like anything right now except
you don't want to watch an epic.
Movie.
You just want to watch a movie, or like you have to watch a movie with your family or something. It's like, I don't want to sit here and watch a 3-hour-long movie. Let's just watch something that's tight. Yep. That's awesome. Prince of Egypt, also only 90 minutes. Feels like 2.5 hours. But it's awesome.
But it's good.
But it's
in a good way.
Most of it is, I guess. But no, yeah, Muppet Treasure Island's awesome. It has one of the best Muppet performances of all time with the blind guy who's looking for Billy Bones.
Yes. Classic. I do an impression, but I don't think anybody cares or would know.
Yeah. No, it'd just be you using a weird voice.
Yeah, exactly. Which, hey, well, what's so different from this podcast and that? But, any dang way. Oh, yeah. I wanted to tell a story. I don't think I've told this on the podcast of the Christmas Carol drinking game story.
That is a good story. Yeah.
So the theater department at Hillsdale College, theater kids, they had this tradition that every Christmas they would do a Christmas party where all the theater kids would get together at somebody's house.
Damn, it smelled crazy in there.
Yeah. True. And we would watch them up at Christmas Carol, and the idea was that you would take a drink every time they said the word Christmas in it. For context, they say Christmas 10 times within the first minute and a half. Right.
Is that consistently played out?
What do you mean?
Well, I guess like there's the ghosts of Christmas every time their name is mentioned.
There's multiple songs
that have Christmas as chorus lines, or multiple
just
songs.
One more sleep till Christmas.
Yep.
Yeah.
The first song in the thing is full of the word Christmas, right? And
did Jesus for us, Mises?
Yes, exactly.
Best line, best rhyme, baby.
What is that? MF Doom I hear? Yeah. No, it's the Muppets.
That is sort of a MF Doom-esque rhyme.
Cheetos, Fritos, Doritos.
Jesus, Mises.
Anyways, one time, I will not name this individual because they're within the greater circle of people that we know. They were hosting the party, and they decided that it would be fun if they took a shot of tequila every time somebody said the word Christmas.
They know that most people can't do more than like 10.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
I think most people can't do more than 3.
Yeah.
Valid. But like,
yeah. So
even the pros.
I will say,
if it's in 2 minutes, you're not going to know.
I know that you've lived in Texas, right? Which, magically makes you have a tolerance for that sort of thing.
Just sweat it out.
Yeah.
Surprise, surprise. He did get through 12. He did take 12 shots of tequila over the course of about 5 minutes. And
how does one even prep that many tequila shots?
He had a bowl of limes ready to go, like a bunch of slices of lime, and then he would just have the shot. He would boom, boom. He'd have the bottle next to him, and then we'd pour the next shot of tequila, and then he would go for it. So basically, after 12,
I mean, before you even throw up, I feel like your gums would start hurting.
Yeah.
His little hands, his cuticles are on fire. There's too much lime juice. Ah, ooh.
Anyway, long story short, he ends up going to the bathroom and not coming out for the rest of the party. And lo and behold, is never able to drink tequila again. So
there you go.
Or watch the Muppets Christmas Carol.
I wonder if he made it to the Cheeses Mises line.
I think he did.
What if we do a party where we watch that movie and every time they say cheeses for us Mises, we drink an entire fifth of whiskey? We just get it all out of the way
right at once.
Yeah.
Perfect. I would never be so hyped for a line, dude.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, this show's ostensibly about something.
Ostensibly.
Right? Yeah, it's about having somebody on and talking about the thing that they're into right now, the thing that's their monomaniacal obsession. That's why it's called freaking Monomaniacs, guys. That's what's going on. We bring somebody on, and today we're brought on Gabe Listro to talk about what, Gabe? What is your white whale? What is your monomaniacal obsession right now? What are you into?
So my wife and I just took a trip to northern Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
And I think my monomaniacal obsession.
You know, you're wearing glasses.
Yeah. It's a binacle, actually.
is this great state of Michigan. We just moved here from Texas, and it's very different.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is we were looking forward to it. There's a lot of trees. You know, we live next to a river, which is very cool.
The St. Joe.
The St. Joe.
Yeah.
You know,
Mighty St. Joe.
Mighty St. Joe. At our house, it's like a tinkling creek.
Yes.
But it becomes a much greater force.
But to think by the time it makes it to South Bend, Indiana.
We went up there and a lot of questions as we're driving up. You know,
Yeah.
the names start becoming more French. Someone to know more. You know, we went to Petoskey. I was like, I found some Petoskey stones. Like, so just general questions about Michigan and learning about this discovery of Michigan. And so I have a lot of fun facts. We also went through Battle Creek. So a subsect of my white whale would be the Kellogg family.
Ooh, yes.
And
that is a classic tale.
I think, is it James or John? John A. Kellogg, who was the Seventh-day Adventist who kind of started
So
all this.
what made you interested in learning more about the Kellogg's family?
So we needed to pick up a hard drive from someone, and Battle Creek was partway to Kalamazoo, and
Full of totally legal contents.
Yeah,
Totally
whatever.
legal.
That
Yeah.
hard drive had nothing on it of note.
it was for a gig. Yeah. So we picked something up. I'm making it sound worse. It was full of photos, like totally legal that needed to be edited.
Okay.
Yeah.
All photos need to be edited. It makes sense.
Yeah, of course.
They were just of Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
And so we were there, and there's the Kellogg Foundation, and my wife has done some work tangentially to the Kellogg Foundation, and we were like, just wondering about it. We passed the Kellogg main factory, their headquarters.
What does it smell like?
In Battle Creek,
Yeah.
like Michigan.
No, I'm like outside of the Kellogg's factory.
Like, do you smell, the cooking of flakes?
No, but there is a water park, so it smells vaguely of chlorine.
Oh, wow.
Yum.
They just have a water park next to the...
Yeah. So I'm not quite sure everything that the Kellogg Foundation does.
Yeah.
I know what it used to do, eugenics, but it's much more of like helping schools, helping Battle Creek, Kalamazoo area.
Yeah.
I think they're part of the Kalamazoo Promise, which is that if you were a high school student in Kalamazoo and you graduate having attended 4 years in a Kalamazoo school, you could get full ride to any Michigan state school.
Oh, wow.
So things like that. They do if you have kids, want to move to Kalamazoo,
Yeah.
they can get free state school.
Isn't there like a band from Kalamazoo?
A band?
Yeah.
I'm sure.
I'm trying to think, like, were the Black Keys from Kalamazoo?
No, they're from outside of Detroit.
No, they have a song about Kalamazoo?
I don't think so.
No.
Not that I know of.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
There's
Forget
a song. It's like "Lost My Luggage in Kalamazoo," but
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
I was just trying to think of, becoming famous and starting a band instead of going to free college. Seems like a
yeah, they
a
clearly
weird
have the greater powers have a plan for
Yeah.
all the young people in Kalamazoo,
Yeah.
and it's not art
Yes.
unless it's like you get a master's.
You could
in
go
art.
and get an art degree
Yeah.
for free.
for free. No, so the Kellogg Foundation was actually really interesting. So there used to be this. It's called the sanitarium.
Yeah.
Which is basically like a health place.
Yeah.
And so
health place.
so Battle Creek really grew in the prosperity after World War I.
Yeah.
So you had World War I, and then the Seventh-day Adventists started moving to Kalamazoo. Sorry, not Kalamazoo, Battle Creek. And there's this one specific family, and this lady, I think it's Eloise White. I don't know. I think it's her name. If Josh was here, he could look it up. But
sure, definitely, 100%. He would definitely do that.
But yeah, so she had all these like I don't know what you call them, like spiritual visions, and that kind of like laid the foundation for what the Seventh-day Adventists believe now. And they've had to like distance themselves from her teachings to some extent now, but like those who know. If you're a trad Seventh-day Adventist, you really adhere to the Whites. Visions.
Yeah, what's the book that she wrote?
Yeah, so
she wrote
Seventh-day
a bunch of books.
Well, she wrote like the big one, like The Coming Crisis or something. America's Coming Crisis. Is that what it's called?
Oh,
I found a copy of it.
Oh, really?
At like a free book giveaway.
Oh, nice.
What they had done is they didn't include the author on it. Doesn't say, E.B. White.
Oh, so it's just like put out by the Seventh-day Adventist.
Well, it doesn't have any identifiers on it. What it does show is it shows the White House, the Capitol building, and St. Peter's next to each other, and the Vatican flag and the American flag like merging together, and it
sounds like a really 1980s, kind of fear mongering.
Yeah,
thing.
well, so I think what it's supposed to trick you into thinking like this is about some sort of Vatican conspiracy, which is like sort of alluded to in the book.
I mean, were they worried about like Kennedy?
I don't know.
Who wasn't?
Yeah, who wasn't worried?
We were all worried about
died
Kennedy.
for it, dude.
Yeah. The mob, the CIA, whoever. But yeah, no, it was supposed to like trick you into picking it up, ostensibly because it's implying something about the Catholic Church, but then it's just secretly the foundational work of the Seventh-day Adventists.
How like meat is bad and sex is gonna kill you. Things like that.
Yeah. The pyramids are used to store grain, that sort of thing.
True.
So like and if you're like, I have friends who are Seventh-day Adventists, but it's not like something it's not all like everyone who is Seventh-day Adventist doesn't all believe this, but there's this level where it started because this guy said the world's going to end. I think it was 1843 or something like that. It didn't, in case you're holding on still. And then they're like, oh, it's actually going to be 1844. Yeah. Still didn't. So by the time they got to Battle Creek, they had a publication firm, and they took the oldest Kellogg, I think it was John Kellogg, and he started working for them. And he was really against kind of the medical quacks, as they call them at the time, like the medical physicians.
Yeah.
Everyone thought they were kind of hacks, and they didn't have like super sophisticated skills. Mm-hmm. And this is like moving into modernity. So they had all these like new inventions. So he made this sanatorium where they had all these alternative medicines. Like he invented that thing that goes around your belly and like jiggles.
Yeah.
He invented that.
It's like, oh man, it's not making him, not making him sane, but it's giving him ripped abs.
Yeah, there's like these fat guys just jiggling away. And there's so many things like that. Like he invented this room where you sit in. It's like a box. You sit in it, and it's full of light bulbs.
Oh yeah.
And so there was this movement that preceded him called the water health movement.
Yeah. There's a movie about this.
I haven't
about the water health thing.
No, I haven't.
I forget what it's called. It's like one of those like psychological thrillers. But
that's the thing, because all this stuff was very like pseudoscientific.
Yeah.
And that's how Kellogg started. He was like, meat is bad, and this woman was like, would go into these trances and like tell like what God was saying, and it came to the point where he was building this medical empire, and he would go in when she was having these like spiritual fits, and would tell her what he wanted to happen.
Yeah.
And then it would become the word of God.
So,
which is like a, Oracle Delphi, like a something.
So what was this box called? Because I think I've heard about these things.
I think it was called it was a light box.
Okay.
Oh, it might have had like a luminosity or.
Okay. Because there was something that kind of came back in the 70s, but it was called like an Erage box or something. Like there was this thing,
like a tanning bed.
No, there was this like pseudo spiritual thing where there was sex energy. Called it like eros energy, and essentially, you could sit in this box and it would imbue you with eros energy.
Just like make you up your libido.
I don't know. I mean, it's
like drinking a cup of maca or
it was
something.
Like the sort of thing where it's like, you go from doing Scientology to go doing this, sort of thing. It's like for the spiritual travelers.
Listen, if you sat somebody in a box and they were like, you said, think about sex as light is blasted onto you, I think that whoever you are, you would come out probably thinking more about sex.
You'd be a changed person.
It's just
regardless.
it can make you think of anything you want. It just gives you that word over
So
and
is
over
this
again.
the same Kellogg family as the Kellogg Foods family? Then?
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so this is he's the guy who invented the graham cracker, right?
Cornflakes.
Yeah, so he didn't invent the graham cracker. The cornflakes was something that he was buying because he created because of the Seventh-day Adventists, like
No meat.
Yeah, no meat and no pleasures within the food. You know, it was something that was supposed to be entirely flavorless.
Yeah, so the problem with red meat for them was that it made you too virile.
Yeah, well, so this
And
is
sex was bad.
something this is an intersection between them and Thomas Aquinas. Fun fact, Thomas Aquinas recommends part of the fasting portion of Lent, partially, like one of the reasons meat is to be excluded is for that exact same reason. It's because you become too virile when you eat too much red meat. It's a fun fact about.
It just goes to show, like, if you are healthy, you will have a higher libido.
Yeah.
If you are malnourished, you won't.
Yeah. So there you go. So they're trying to actively malnourish people with these cornflakes.
Yeah, and he was this. Yeah, and he also fun fact. He was like Colonel Sanders. He only wore white.
Nice.
Not because he thought it was cool, but
Named after
because
the prophet test.
Even though it was cool.
it was dope as hell.
It was the
Fine.
one that, like, he thought it absorbed the most sunlight. So if he wore it, he would, like, get the most of the sun that he possibly could.
The funny thing is that's the opposite.
That's what makes it so funny. Also, when he got older, he only wore a G-string. That's it.
Is he
Because he wanted
nude?
the most sun he could possibly get.
Okay, so he was leather skinned. He was like a seal man.
It was an alligator. He moved to Florida, actually. So the thing is,
Some say they still stalk the swamp.
the little goatee. He even has a little Colonel Sanders goatee.
Yeah.
But he made the cornflakes, and he was just a doctor. He didn't care anything about making money.
Yeah.
And you guys know Post Cereal, the company.
Yeah.
So he came from Texas, and he was a failed entrepreneur. And he was looking at all this stuff. He's like, "There's untapped potential here to sell this product. People are swamping your establishment because they want what you have."
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "I'm not interested in selling it. You can look at it and do whatever you want." So he started making $1 million business in the first couple of years. And the younger brother of the Kellogg's was like, "What the hell are we doing? Like, we need to be making money off of this." And he was like just kind of a peon, and like he didn't care. And eventually he's like, "All right, I'm gonna go.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go make my own." And to make his better than everyone else's, he added sugar to the
Incredible.
which was completely against the 7-day Adventist view. And that's how we get the Kellogg company today. And there's this divide. So the doctor who invented it, moved to Florida and only wore a G-string. And the other guy became the famous.
So the Kellogg Foundation then is not financed with Kellogg
not
cereal
the first
money?
No, it is.
Oh, it is. Okay.
But it's the younger brother, the one who started the company.
Oh, okay.
So he became more of a philanthropic as he became older.
Yeah. And the other guy became less philanthropic and more leather skinned.
More leather skinned. Yeah.
His reptile lizard brain.
So where does the
fully taking
eugenicism
over.
So
factor into this?
So
The people want to know.
Yeah.
Does
it have to do with the fact that like people who aren't white have a hard time digesting milk? Is that what it is? No, we can't sell these guys cereal and milk. We got to kill them.
It's so this was the time of early progressivism.
Yeah.
Eugenics was not uncommon at this time.
It was vogue.
It was
It was
very
the thing.
vogue. It was very vogue.
It was reading Edward Bellamy's Looking Backward and killing people.
Yes. It was like, how can we make what is the greatest good? Oh, the greatest good is this. You're not that. Therefore, you cannot reproduce. So we're either sterilizing or.
Yeah.
So it was misguided, obviously. But his view was, he's like, my lifestyle can make anyone healthy. So he's like, to prove that, I will adopt the son of this prostitute and from the town who was like eating garbage.
And is this old or younger?
So this is the
Kellogg?
older brother.
Okay,
The older brother.
okay.
So insofar as like the Kellogg Foundation is eugenic, it's not. It's insofar as that it was the money that came from Kellogg
Yeah.
is the money that made the company big,
Yeah.
the recipe and everything. So it was more the older brother who had these eugenic views, not the younger Kellogg.
Yeah.
But so he tried raising this boy, making him have all of the lifestyle.
A
Basically.
Pygmalion situation.
Yes.
A hooker with a heart of gold, or hooker's son. I
Yes.
guess.
So
What's the movie? Oh gosh, that's literally that. It's
Taming of the Shrew.
no, Pygmalion, Taming of the Shrew. Gosh, what's the
So what happens in it? Sorry,
where the guy finds a prostitute and his friend he bets he can't get the prostitute.
Oh,
to
Pretty
be a lady.
Woman.
Pretty Woman. There
Yeah,
it is.
yeah,
Yeah, it's Pretty Woman. Oh, wait, keep going. Sorry.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's like, I'm gonna using the power of nurture. I'm going to change this boy.
Yeah.
And surprise, surprise, it doesn't. So he decides that it's not a nurture problem; it's a nature problem.
Yeah.
and the solution.
Is that certain people are just never gonna be healthy.
Yeah.
They're always messed up, and those people can't make more people. So obviously you're not right, but that was how he was like, my nurture's not working, so it must be nature.
Yeah.
Just a wild man.
So your value as a human being is how receptive you are to his medical treatments?
Yeah. Like, do you subscribe? No.
Yeah.
So then you're not worth it.
Yeah.
But because he didn't sell any of his cereal products, people would just move to Battle Creek and set up their own cereal factories. So there were all these different cereal factories, all making different brands with different names. Like one of them was even celery based. And,
wow.
Like, which is disgusting. But I understand, like, you drink celery juice, it's supposed to, metabolism. But like, could you imagine just having like this gold mine of an idea and everyone's just trying to move and just make money off of it?
Hey.
It's like Austin.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
Except for the
Everybody's
gold mine
got
of
a-
ideas. What?
Podcast.
EV cars, I don't know.
Yeah.
Just say pasta?
Podcast.
Oh.
Yeah. They're like, it's the Joe Rogan problem. You know,
Yeah.
they've got it's an epicenter, a black hole.
He just opened a comedy venue down there.
No, the problem with Austin is not, and this is I could talk about Austin
Welcome
for
to
a long time.
The problem with Austin.
Yeah, there's a lot of problems with Austin. One of them, the overpopulated market would be like, I don't know, millennials with way too much money.
Yeah.
Gen Zs and
Tax
millennials.
speculation.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Who have so much money and they need somewhere to eat. So there's this overabundance of these kind of like indoor, outdoor, cafe, bar, like the most hip thing you could possibly imagine.
String lights as far
String
as the eye can
lights,
see.
picnic tables, fancy name drinks.
So you're telling me that what Austin needs is more Red Lobsters, more Olive Gardens,
Some Texas Roadhouse.
more Outback
true.
Steakhouses.
It's true. I think they just need more Chick-fil-A's, honestly.
Oh, there you go.
Or Popeyes, actually. That might be what they really need is Popeyes.
Goodness.
Popeyes chicken.
Guys, freaking A, dude. This podcast is a good time as any. We couldn't do it without our patrons, guys. Honestly, we would be lost. We would be like Kellogg in the jungle,
jungles of
leather
Florida.
skin,
With only a
crawling
G-string.
through the swamp, trying to find his way home. Right? It would be that bad. And so I want to thank our patrons, all of them, and especially our top patrons, Zach and Amber Strehle, Luke Robson, Joe Papalardo, and Samuel Roberts. Thank you so much. We could not do this without you. If you're interested, $5, you can listen to the Patreon post show. $5 a month. It's nothing. And at this point, we have over 60 hours of content. So there's plenty of stuff for $5. It's a great deal, in all honesty. You can look through the rest of the tiers to see if you'd be interested in, say, pledging more or less. Usually we've got questions here, but we have no questions this week. Yeah,
We kind of had a fast turnaround on this.
yeah. We got to get better at the having a guest prepared well enough in advance.
Well, I'm not a Patreon supporter, but I have some questions I could ask you guys.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Go for it,
Yeah.
dude.
All right. This is one that I think was recently asked me. Is there a conspiracy theory that you're like pretty bought in? You're like, that's mine. And the hard thing about this question is, like, if you are bought in, you don't think of it as a conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
But something that other people.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. The question is which. It's not a question of if there is one.
Yeah.
Go for it, Shad. You
I
can
don't know.
start.
I mean, the CIA killed JFK. I'm convinced of that one.
That's a pretty good one. I feel like there's a lot.
Yeah,
There's a lot going on
there's a
there.
lot going on there, I think, and there's just I mean, we still haven't been given a straight answer about the JFK assassination, and I think that's because
There isn't one.
you don't need to protect the mob. You don't need to protect the communists. You need to protect our own government. So I think that's true. Other than that, though, I mean, I'm pretty sure that, speaking of Bill Clinton, I'm pretty sure that Bill Clinton, at one point while he was governor of Arkansas, was in bed with the Mexican drug cartels. And this is not like a crazy right-wing thing. This is more based off of proven problems in Arkansas around the time he was governor, where local municipalities had relationships with the Mexican drug cartels. There's this movie about it. Tom Cruise is in it, where he plays this guy who does drug running, like in a 2-seater plane or whatever. But it resulted in like the deaths of these kids in this small town, and this sheriff was on this pay toll because they walked in and found like a drug drop site. All these people got murdered. The government covered it up. All these people got implicated, and there's still sealed documents, and a lot of those sealed documents seem to reference somebody who's redacted, who's most likely Governor Bill Clinton. So I think that's a pretty accurate one in my mind.
I've got two. I've got Martin Luther King was not killed by the man that has been convicted of his murder.
Yeah.
The government has fully admitted that they probably have the wrong man. So the question is who did? And in my mind, it might have been the government. That being said, I also believe, based off of the book Chaos, it's a great book, you should read it, that Marilyn Manson, probably an asset.
Charles Manson.
Sorry, Charles Manson. Wrong one. Marilyn Manson, not an asset.
No.
I was like, wow, that is a conspiracy theory.
That is a conspiracy theory. Charles Manson, probably an asset for the CIA. It's looking pretty. It's pretty
or
fishy.
at least he's MK Ultra activated.
Yeah.
But
So, and
about
and accepting that particular one means there are a lot of like sort of dominoes that you have to follow that I have accepted to reach that point. So yeah.
What about you, Gabe? What'd you give?
I don't know.
Did you give like some super safe answer?
No, I think mine was food related.
Yeah.
No, I don't know, because I grew up like a little more anti-vax.
Yeah.
And no GMOs, those types of things. Pacific Northwest. So
Yeah.
all those things were the devil. And I don't know to what extent I actually believe them. It's one of those things that I'm like, oh yeah, I would totally opt out if on certain things, like,
Yeah.
But I don't know. They're all probably food related. I feel like we did a really bad job with food going like post World War II.
Yeah. The industrialized food system is very, very bad in so many ways. It's incredible in so many ways also. There's roughly like 1 billion people alive today who would not be alive if it wasn't for the Green Revolution. But at the same time, especially in America, because the Green Revolution still exists in Europe.
I think the FDA is the thing I have the hardest time with. Yeah.
Yeah, because in Europe, they still have, similar food outputs. I mean, nowhere near America, but for their size, and they're much more restrictive about the uses of pesticides, about what it is that you can and can't eat in more, dangerous ways. And I think part of that is just, our advocacy organizations are much stronger. Our corporations are much stronger. They're able to keep things legal. So I think that's legitimate. One actually that is one of the weirdest little history fun facts that constantly gets my brain churning. I think I've mentioned this before on the show, but Michigan copper. Are you familiar with the Michigan copper theory?
Is this the one? I was thinking about this as I was up in the UP.
This is crazy.
Yeah. So you guys probably might have heard this, but technically the copper that has been found in the Mediterranean used during the Bronze Age. So, you're thinking
copper, tin, bronze.
Yes. The specific copper used in those alloys and in places like ancient Greece or is a prime example. In the Mediterranean world, largely, they haven't been able to trace a mine in that area that has a similar chemical construction. The only place in the world that they've been able to find it is in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, which indicates that there's a possibility there was some sort of transatlantic trade much earlier than we thought, or that there is a big transatlantic trade and that the giants mined all that copper, which is for some reason the next step that everybody seems to take with that fact.
Giants?
Yeah, the North American giants, the redheaded giants that the Smithsonian are hiding in the basement of the Smithsonian.
The other thing is the Agartha angle, right? The idea that there's a world underneath the crust of the earth, and that's how the copper was moved so easily. Was by going through the earth as opposed to across it.
Yes.
Wow.
So, hey, I do not subscribe to that at all.
So
hey.
this does make me think, because these are conspiracy theories I'd be more interested in. I do feel like as soon as a conspiracy theory, it could be anything, and I could be interested. Until it starts becoming like, and then the government did that. I'm like, all right, it's just so like not interesting anymore.
Yeah, well,
and I don't know why, but
I describe when I talk about this like it's called the red line.
yeah,
There's like something like you can say yes to so many things, but there's a point of no return sanity wise, or like we just can't. You can't say yes.
Yeah,
like a good example of this would be, like yes, you know. Did the CIA, kill X amount of people in certain ways? Yes, blah, blah, blah. And you can go through all these lists of different things. Oh, am I willing to admit that there's a Kennedy assassination, blah, blah, blah. Yes. And the people who may have been asked to cover it up were killed in this way, et cetera. And then all of a sudden you're like, then the Oklahoma City bombing, a lot of that stuff is really similar. And you're like, well, I definitely can't say we faked that, so I'm just going to pretend like I didn't think anything. We're just gonna go back in the shell, because if you open up the Oklahoma City bombing was fake, then it's over. It's over. You've gone off the deep end. So it's like it's tough.
Have you seen the movie Beyond the Curve, the flat Earth one?
Yes.
And like at the end of the movie, they basically prove that the world is curved.
Yeah.
And then they're like, we must be wrong.
Yeah.
And that is, I feel like it's like the logical conclusion of like, oh, I don't know. Like this person, the JFK is fake. The bombing is fake. Sandy Hook was like fake. Like everything it starts building upon itself, and then you're like, I don't know.
Yeah,
I'd just rather choose to believe lies sometimes.
Yeah, well,
than like know the truth.
Yeah, and then there's this added element though, where I think a lot of these conspiracies could be assuaged if organizations would be willing to admit fault.
True.
So
yeah.
So there's this book called The Legacy of Ashes, which is about the history of the CIA, and something in the book that is kind of the conceit of the book is that the CIA is just sort of dumb. They're bad at their job. And a lot of the reason we have questions about so much with that stuff, and then that leads people to ask more questions about things that are settled, is because they refuse to admit fault. They refuse to say, we made a mistake. We did this. We're not going to release all the documents. We're trying to protect assets or whatever. They're not trying to protect assets. They're trying to protect their assets. And because of that, it makes you start to question other things related to the organizations, and then you start to question absolutely everything. Is anybody telling the truth? And then you eventually say the world's flat because you can't trust anything. My favorite thing about that documentary, though, is that it's not a movie about the flat Earth. It's a love story.
A story of unrequited love.
A story of unrequited love. Yeah.
Oh, it's true. I forgot that.
That poor bastard.
There's that love story. I forgot.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
Destroyed in 4K.
I do think you're right. So I spent the last 3 years working in a school, and there's FERPA. You're not allowed to say things that happen legally.
Yeah.
Which is probably part of the CIA's problem too. There's probably legal things we're not allowed to say. But because we could not say things, there was so much speculating on the part of the parents where it's like, no, none of this is even remotely possible.
Yeah.
I just can't tell you that this kid is being mean to this kid.
Yeah.
I just can't legally tell you that. So, your child does not have this problem. A teacher is not doing whatever you think they're doing.
Yeah.
It's this kid, and we've all seen it. We all know it, but we just can't tell you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you don't believe your kid, or you don't believe the teacher. Yeah, it's like... It's so hard.
Well, then it's natural for people to kind of take those next steps and start to get more and more kind of ridiculous with it, right? And I think that there's a certain personality type that doubles down on that.
Soccer moms.
Well, I'm sure that's part of it. Well, actually, they kind of fit this demographic where the big thing with conspiracies in a lot of ways, and I think part of the reason why they can grab a lot of people, it's sort of the definition is sort of shifted. I think this is how it used to be with everybody. Now, especially after like the pandemic and all this stuff, people are just a lot more skeptical of everything, and so it's just getting a little more out of control. But beforehand, it was just sort of this elaborate victimhood complex.
Yeah,
where because you kind of were unable to get a grasp of your problems, you started to project that all of your problems were being caused by something far outside of your control,
by bad actors that you.
It's a lot easier
that you could never fight against.
It's a lot easier to blame an administration than it is to figure your kid out. You know what I mean? It's a lot easier to blame the governmental administration than really just kind of realize that you're a deadbeat in some capacity, right? Or that you're kind of in a position that can't be fixed, like you live in a Rust Belt state in 2006 or whatever. It's like at that point, you start to say Obama's Kenyan. It's
Forgot about that.
it feeds on itself
Yeah.
in a weird way.
Huh. Yeah, that's a good point.
It's a lot easier for you to say, not my problem, it's the Illuminati, than it is for you to say it is my problem.
Because I grew up watching a lot of food documentaries, which meant I watched a lot of documentaries after I left the house. And I think the thing that really turned me off was like the victimhood, because I was watching a documentary today about food, and one of the guys was really compelling until he started getting like, and these people are doing this thing, and this person is doing that thing. And I was like, this was more compelling to me. You had me hating the FDA more when you weren't like blaming all these other things on them.
Yeah.
And he said something good at the end that kind of redeemed it. He's like, do I think that the government was like complicit and messing up all these things? Yes. Do I think they were willfully trying to do that? No. I think, and I was like, okay, I can get behind that. That's a little bit easier to swallow.
That's the other thing that's tough for me, is that the idea that there are these like sort of malicious cabal that orchestrates all of this.
Yeah.
I just don't think that people are that smart. Or that organized.
The ignorance claim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a really hard time seeing it, just because, to the degree of like, oh yeah, so the entirety of the deep state are full of people that sacrifice children, and it's this whole organization. It's this big complex cabal. I just don't see that level of complexity being executed in a way that we have not been able to see, or anything like that. It just seems
it's very similar to the secret too big to keep theorem.
The idea to me is like, people are doing really stupid stuff, most likely, and are really bad at what they do, and are just really good at covering up their mistakes. To me, that is the more logical way that you could sort of frame it, as opposed to it's all being like willfully done to harm the individual, right?
Yeah.
The American, or the Christian, or the person that likes Pokemon, who's an adult.
The most trodden upon minority in America.
Yeah, second only to gamers.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah. I've officially decided that I'm kind of through with like
Gaming.
Well, I don't really play video games anymore, but I don't know, nerd culture becoming the culture.
Mm-hmm.
I've been talking about this for ages, but I saw something today that officially just broke me mentally, right? Where I just saw some guy, like one of those videos you always see where it's some guy, he's a little heavier, bald and bearded, sort of like me, but in a not cool way.
I was about to say, it's like, so we're describing Shadrach
and he's
Strehle.
like wearing a t-shirt, and he's sitting in a room that's got anime collectibles on the walls, and he's like, Snow White is too woke, and you're sitting here just like, gosh, don't you like have things to care about? Don't you have stuff to, people that like need a phone call, people who like used to say they loved you, it's tough to, it's just, I don't know.
I was thinking about that as I was thinking about coming on this podcast.
Yeah.
I was like, I could spend, and I did this to some extent,
but
I could do this far more. I could spend more time on YouTube, read more Wikipedia, and I would sound far more interesting on this podcast than I actually am. Really, I just went with my wife to Michigan and asked some dumb questions.
Yeah.
And we read the Wikipedia page as we drove. But like,
that's the point of the show, by the way.
I could sound more interesting. But there's life. There's other things happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
This would be Dark Souls for the first time.
Oh yeah, I heard of it. Congratulations. I'm really happy for you.
Thank you.
What was your build? What'd you go with? What was your build?
It was a strength build.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I was really disappointed. The final boss is super easy, and it was frustrating. It was sad. It was kind of an anticlimactic thing. Anyway, we'll move on.
So at the very beginning of summer break, I downloaded FIFA Mobile, and I played
the Skinner box.
Yeah.
I
played a lot. I played probably like 30 hours.
Yeah.
Wow. And it was fun, but also very frustrating. And then I realized that I was spending far, far too much time just sitting there, like wishing people would stop talking to me so I could play on my phone. I was like, oh man.
Yeah, I kind of fell into that trap because when you have a baby, it's like you can't. Your brain's dead. You can't read. You have a hard time watching TV even. right? And so I'm like, well, I'm got super autoed pets on my phone, or Monster Train, and I'm just, no, I got to break out of it. I fell into the same thing.
So I found a really successful way to break out of this.
What's that?
Leave your phone on top of your car, then pull out a Kroger.
Yeah, you were saying that.
So it smashes.
Yeah, what kind of replachement do you have right now? What are you rocking?
So I had my
What's your piece look like? Dude?
Yeah.
I got another phone, so it's fine now. But I had my wife's old iPhone 10.
Yeah.
I don't know, 9, 10. I don't know if there was a 9.
The Stone Ages.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
What do you
It has a
pour?
button on it.
Yeah.
No.
Geez, yeah. All of a sudden I was like, whoa, flashbacks. A button
Yeah,
on the front of my phone? Heaven forbid.
But the problem was, so I'm not really a tech guy. I've learned my family's like notoriously bad with tech.
Yeah.
I didn't know that you could just like transfer everything from one phone to the other one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
All you need is just put this SD card in.
Did you throw away the other phone?
no, so it wasn't SD related. It was like Google. It was Android account related.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
So-
yeah.
And you get, I don't know if you have Androids, but like, so if I get a new phone, I just boot up the new phone, and then I have it open up my other phone, and it will just digitally, it'll just like
Yes.
wirelessly
Yes.
translate it,
Mhm.
transmit it over.
And 2 + 2 is 4.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
The problem is when your phone is so smashed, you can't unlock it.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I really hope there's a way. And there's like, I type in my account, and it doesn't work. So I'm into my new phone with none of my old apps. And that's how you get out of the video game.
There you go.
Is you just don't, you remember, oh yeah, I used to have, whatever that app was. And
Yeah.
then you download it again. I used to have a budget app. Oh yeah, here it is. And you find it.
Yeah. The other method for this, and I should probably just do this, is grayscaling.
Yeah. That's just so sad. It's so sad. You
It's
have
true.
such like and I use this term loosely, like a
Yeah.
beautiful piece of technology. It can do
Yeah.
so much. And you just like chop its balls off.
Yeah,
That
well,
is
no,
like
but the thing is,
serious
that's true,
Victorian child energy right there.
Well, it's true,
You
though.
gonna become Seventh-day Adventist?
Yeah, well, when you're describing, when you say chopping its balls off, it's kind of true, because it's like literally that's where the magic happens. Like
It's the color. You're like,
the reason why you open it up and you instantly get that dopamine is because the blue light's hitting you straight in the eyeballs, right? But if you get rid of if you get grayscale, it's like I was listening to a podcast where somebody was talking about this, which is funny because I've been doing this for like 3 or 4 years now during Lent, and it's like you just don't care anymore.
no,
You know,
don't.
when you sit down and you're bored, like the first thing you think of isn't, oh, what's going on my phone? Especially since I deleted Twitter and YouTube, although I just use the YouTube website.
They still got
They
you.
still got me now.
They
on my
still got
phone.
ya.
But you have an iPhone though, right?
I do have an
So you
iPhone.
can actually delete the app. So if you have an
Yeah.
Android, you can't actually delete the app.
Oh, really?
You're just constantly stuck with YouTube. You can like hide it and like turn it off, but it's still there.
Yeah, it's just asking, hey, watch a 2.5-hour video essay about a ham sandwich.
Oh,
Dude, does that exist? I want to watch it
Yeah,
right now.
Defunct Land, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, the hand sandwich.
Yeah, not a
so-
ham sandwich.
I thought
a
it was
hand
the
sandwich.
ham sandwich.
Oh.
Yeah. What you can make right now? Just give me a couple of pieces of bread. Boom, boom, boom.
Boom, boom. Hand sandwich.
Hand sandwich.
Guys, how are we doing on time?
I don't know. You got to go check.
I gotta check.
We don't have Josh Liebhauser here to be the arbiter of these things.
Oh yeah, we're way past it.
Oh, we're over time. Okay. How far are we past it?
Only 3 minutes.
Oh, okay. That's not way past it.
Well,
Yeah, Dylan, you really scared us there.
yeah. I was like, okay.
we've been here for 7 years.
Uh,
You heard of the boy who cried wolf?
No.
Well,
Why would you bring up a reference I don't get, Gabe? That's kind of a
never-
cringy.
it's an obscure Coldplay
Yeah,
song.
yeah. It's kind of. Yeah.
I've never once heard that story. I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, guys. Thanks for listening. Thanks, Gabe, for being on the show. We'll
you
see you
guys.
on the
Thank you.
Patreon.
Bye bye.